So to get a better understanding of the New Guardian and what it does, we are here with Uri Sapir, who's been a member of the family of the New Guardian for 7 years now.
7 years.
So first of all, tell us a little bit. We're outside, but where are we?
We're on a hill next to Moshav Netiv Agdud and Kibbutz Gilgal in the Jordan Valley.
So this area is the Jordan Valley?
This area is the Jordan Valley. We can see, if we look to the east, we're going to see the place that the Jordan River runs through. This is the actual place that the sons of Israel came into the land of Israel the first time. They crossed the Jordan here next to Gilgal. And
Gilgal, which is also the
Gilgal, yeah. The kibbutz maintained the name, the original name of this area. It's called Gilgal. And here it's a very good place to understand the importance of the farming and agriculture for the security of Israel.
Which is what we're seeing in front of us.
This is what we see in front of us. We see beautiful plantations of dates, olives, we see greenhouses. And actually in Israel, the purpose of making agriculture is not just to put food on our tables. This is the best way to safeguard the land of Israel. Actually, Israel has enemies all around.
Right.
And we have the IDF, which is the best army, I think, in the world.
Correct.
And their job is to safeguard the borders and outside the borders. The way to safeguard the land inside the state of Israel, based on farming and agriculture. Actually, a third of the landscape in Israel is meant to be agriculture areas. So the state of Israel sends a farmer here to the problematic areas. He's making his living out of agriculture.
Right.
But in one hand, in the other hand, he helps the state of Israel to safeguard the land of Israel for the future of the Jewish people and the population inside the country.
So in your mission, you're safeguarding the agricultural lands. What does that mean?
The mission statement of the New Guardian is to safeguard the land of Israel by education and operations. Okay, the way is actually each and every acre in Israel is meant for something. Mm-hmm. The meaning of sovereignty of the government of Israel is that in each and every place, what is taking place in the same area is what the government meant to be.
Right.
Unfortunately, there are many criminals that are not accepting the rules of Israel and the law in Israel, and they're trying to trespass the land, mostly the farmers' land, because they can't deal with the police, they can't deal with the army, so they're dealing with the farmers. And we say that if we want to keep the sovereignty of the government of Israel, we have to help the farmers to do what they're doing. So first of all, we're helping them to safeguard the land in the most simple way. We send volunteers, thousands of volunteers, to be here at nights to make sure that nobody is trespassing, that nobody is stealing, that nobody is burning the fields and the barns. And unfortunately, we come across many cases like this. In the other hand, we understand that if we will send volunteers not to guard, but to help the farmer at his basic job, okay? To pick the crops, to work the fields, okay? To fix the fences. Mm-hmm. So we're not just helping the farmer to make his living, we're helping the state of Israel to fulfill its goal, which is safeguarding the land.
And so you're talking about not just safeguarding the agricultural land itself from crimes, but also assisting the farmers.
Exactly, to work the farms. And this is one hand that we have in Hashomer Hachadash, which is the operational hand.
But I want to ask you something about the operational hand for a minute. You're mentioning the fact that sometimes you have interactions with those negative elements. What happens then? Do these volunteers get training?
Hashomer Hachadash is a body, it's not just one part.
Right.
And if you have to fight someone, you have your hands and legs maybe to hit, but the most important thing is the eyes, that you see things, you can report things, and you can figure out the way that you want to act. All the volunteers in Hashomer Hachadash are not facing the criminals. They see what is happening and they call our manpower that works in Hashomer. They call the police, they call the border patrol, and they go and they confront with the criminals. The volunteers don't do that. The participants in the Young Leadership Program don't do that. But we have a lot of
the fact that they're present there, Uri, is a deterrent in and of itself.
Exactly. Making a significant presence out there in the fields, this is the thing that the Hashomer Hachadash want to renew. We came from diaspora from many, many countries, from Yemen and from Morocco and Europe, and we were used to be inside fences.
Right.
So Jews think that being inside fences, it protects them. The reality is just the opposite of that. If you want to be the owner of a landscape, you don't have to hold papers that write it. You have to be out there. You have to make a significant presence. And when we are here, the other guys cannot come and be here.
Something comes to mind, and not just to mind, but also to sight. I'm seeing all of these young kids over here, young men living in these structures. Tell us a little bit, who are they?
These are participants in the Young Leadership Program of Hashomer Hachadash. They actually volunteering for more than a whole year, 13 months. They have a gap year between finish high school and join the IDF, the army.
Right.
And volunteering for 13 months, they actually safeguarding the land. They assist the farmers to work their fields and herds of cattle and sheep. And beside of that, they're very consistently working on their identity. They have lessons that talk about their identity, Zionism, Judaism, philosophy, how to be good civils in the state of Israel, because we understand that if we want to keep holding this land, it's not enough to make operations. We have to reconnect the young generation in Israel to the roots, which are the connection to the land and connection to the basic values of Zionism. Mutual responsibility, loving the land, care about each other, and make sure that the state of Israel is going to be here for decades and thousands of years, and not just 4 or 5 years from today.
How many such young people do you have who do this gap year?
We have more than 320 participants in different gap years in Israel,
and that's
all over
in addition
Israel.
to the thousands of volunteers.
This is additions of thousands of volunteers that are safeguarding the lands, and in addition to more than 100,000 volunteers that came in 2022 to assist farmers by working the land.
And have you seen on the ground impact to the kind of work that you do?
Of course, but we have two impacts. One of them is that the farmers, after many years of struggling, can rest, can breathe. We have farmers here in the Jordan Valley that didn't take a vacation for 10 years until Hashomer Hachadash volunteers started to assist them and take care of the fields and the herds at night. So now they can take vacations, they can breathe. But this is one thing that we see. The other thing that we see is thousands of young population in Israel that are reconnecting to the land and to the values. Actually, if you think about Hashomer Hachadash, we have two goals. Okay, one is to safeguard the land, and the other is to make sure to safeguard the identity of the Israeli society, all the sections of the Israeli society. What we see, first of all, we see the Jordan River over there. This is the gate to the land of Israel. Actually, when Joshua came with the sons of Israel, they came from the desert in Sinai, and they wanted to enter the promised land. They crossed the Jordan here. This is the place that they went into the land of Israel. If we look 3,500 years later, okay, two of the most important leaders in the beginning of Zionism, in the beginning of the 20th century, Ze'ev Jabotinsky and Yosef Trumpeldor, established a regiment in the British Army that fought right here with the Turks in order to take over the land of Israel, to take the land of Israel back from the Turkish and give it to the Jewish people. So it happened here. This is the gate to the land of Israel. We can see this mountain over there. It's called Sartaba. On the top of this mountain used to be a castle of the last queen, of the last Jewish queen in the land of Israel before the evacuation of the Jews here. Her name was Shlom Tzion. She was the last queen from the Maccabees family that made Hanukkah and everything, and she had a castle up here in this mountain. This is Mount Sartaba. This mountain also used to announce the whole Jewish world about the dates of in the Hebrew
calendar?
In the Hebrew calendar. Actually, in the ancient times, in order to set the Jewish calendar, there were witnesses that were in Jerusalem, which is over there in the west. And after they decided that this is the beginning of the month, because they saw the birth of the moon, they lit big torches from Jerusalem through Kipros, which is a mountain over there. And Sartaba is the last mountain on the western side of the Jordan. They lit a big torch over there. It went to the other side, to the eastern part of the Jordan Valley, and all the way to Babylon, which is Iraq of today. So actually you see here the mountains that made the statement that this is the Jewish calendar 3,000, 2,000 years ago.
The Jewish internet.
Yeah, the Jewish internet, the beginning of the internet. And I think it's really exciting that 19-year-old young people in Israel are volunteering and make sure that the future of the Jewish state is going to be here for a lot of years from today, in the same place that their great-great-great-fathers made the same thing thousands of years ago.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Uri. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And good luck tonight, today, and every night with your mission.
Thank you so much.
A pleasure.
We're here at the beautiful Jordan Valley. Me and my friend here, we volunteer in the Hashomer Hachadash organization. It's a year prior to the army, before we enlist to the IDF. We wake up every day at 5 a.m. And then we go to work in agriculture in this area. We work at the dates plantation. We work until 1:30 in the noon. Then we go back to our home here, our commune, and then we eat lunch. We have a couple of lessons like philosophy, Zionism, and stuff like that. And then two of us go every night to guard in a farm, in a sheep farm or cow's farm. Sometimes we guard all night, and sometimes we herd their sheep.
So, first of all, both when we work or when we guard at the farms all over the region, we understand that all of this is a really important mission here, a mission of fighting for our homeland here with our brothers that really need our help. Some people here suffer from certain problems, like some activities and people that try to, whether it's like the sheep farmers, they try to, certain people try to disturb the living in the farm, because it's all of this. The mission is building farms in a very specific areas, strategic. We have a lot of criminal activities here that we, the group of Hashomer Hachadash here, are trying to help our brothers to stop or involve these situations.
We go to the army for 3 years of our lives. We don't start our lives at the age of 18. We give from ourselves to the country because it's very important, because it's a young country and we need everyone to help and volunteer.
I heard about the Hashomer Hachadash from a friend, totally random. It was a mistake at first. I just heard him said it, and I decided to go to it with him, and then it's all started. It's all I saw the fighting for our country, and I felt very connected.
For you as well?
Yeah,
you heard?
Well. I've heard from friends who volunteered in this organization, and I myself searched for a year of agriculture and just live a different kind of life. I'm from the city originally.
Which city?
Petah Tikva. So it was really interesting for me to hear about it. I came, I saw, and I joined.
I'm Shahar Azani, and welcome to this special Eye on Israel from the heart of Israel. The issue of governance, as it's called by Israelis, or law and order, has been prominent in the recent elections in Israel. But the truth is that the issue has been an issue in Israeli society for too many years. Hashomer Hachadash, the New Guardian, is an organization that was established in 2007 to counter some of these issues as they pertain to crimes against farmers and agricultural lands in Israel. With me is the CEO and founder of the New Guardian, Hashomer Hachadash, Yoel Zilberman. Yoel, it's great to be with you.
Good to be with you, Shachar.
So it's so appropriate for the organization. We are right here at the heart of Israel by the bonfire to talk about the great work that you do. But first and foremost, tell us a little bit about what made you establish the New Guardian and what was it that you intended to do?
So I think that you just mentioned that when you just started, that we see in Israel the national security situation inside the heart of Israel, in the open areas, but also in cities of Israel. And it's a result of something that we are presenting to the Israeli government, presenting to the Israeli public for the last 13 years, actually showing that the Israeli government actually lost control on many of these areas because of agricultural crime and agricultural terrorism, actually.
Agricultural terrorism.
Yeah, it's actually a situation, like my personal story.
Right.
My father is a rancher that lives in the lower Galilee, nearby the Mediterranean Sea, nearby Haifa, nearby Tiberias. In this area, find himself, maybe working as a farmer 1 hour, 2 hours a day, because most of the time he's trying to just fight and keep his land from criminals that are trying to take over his land in the middle of the Galilee. Wow. I'm telling you about more than 2 miles of his fence that keeps his cows that was cut it down just to damage and to make enabling the other families getting inside his fields illegally with cows, sheep, goats. Beside that, they was doing, arsons, burning his fields.
Oh, wow.
30 times over
these are issues people, Israelis have been hearing about just in the last few years, and here you're telling me this has been...
So actually nobody spoke about it, and it was something that if you see what was happening here with the agriculture issue, is that I think that in many, many ways, we became a very high-tech state.
Right.
Most of my friends are working in cyber, nanotechnology, they are going, to these kind of areas. Some of them are also, they spend some time in the Silicon Valley, came back to Israel, talented people.
Right.
And I think that what happened is that the dream of the land of Israel, that was always about the connection to the land, and the farmers was the symbol of it. I think that this dream got a bit, broke down, let's say. And if you're looking, on the last 30 years, a generation, we actually took out the ideology of love of the land. And then you saw farmers that dealing with this terror, or criminals that taking over their lands. And you saw these people that actually, it's a very tiny group of people.
Right.
That they are the one, like here, you can see behind you, they are keeping the border. The border with Jordan, it's right here. And from here to the Mediterranean Sea, it's less than an hour. Okay, it's nothing. And if you do, you look over the border with Egypt, with Gaza, with Lebanon, Syria, it will always be the farmer.
So Yoel, your dad is facing those issues. You're helping him.
So my father is about to abandon his land and sell the cows. I served in the Israeli Navy SEALs on the same time.
Right.
And after my father came back home, he had a meeting together with the police officer of the region. Tells my father, listen, you are a good guy, but I'm dealing with robbers, murders, this kind of stuff. My best advice to you, you will give them some, piece of your land or protection money, 3,000-5,000 shekel a month. Maybe they will leave you alone. So my father came back home and told us, listen, was the end of the story. I can't take it anymore. And I just told my father, over my dead body, it's not going to happen. And I moved, next week I came back to the unit. I got a present for my officer, a very big Israeli flag. And on the next Friday, when I came back home, I chose with my father a location, one of the hills that control the whole area. I just planted like a long stick with an Israeli flag, and I built small tent with 2 beds, a bit of bottles of water and books. And I moved there. I lived in my father's hill. From that day, I lived there for 2.5 years.
Wow.
And 45 volunteers joined me after like months and a half, 2 months. And then farmers start to come and ask me how.
That's how Hashomer Hachadash was born?
This is how it started. I was sure that it's my family story, it's my father's story.
Right.
And this was the point where it started. And then we did a very big meeting with farmers from all over Israel that stand up and say, we don't have next generation. We are above 60. We are about to close our business. Right. We are completely alone. We already abandoned huge amounts of land. I'm speaking about more than 50, 70,000 acres of land that was abandoned by these farmers on the last 2 decades. And they said, listen, how are we taking your model that you create like a community of people that helping you, keeps your father fields, how we can do it in some other places. And I was sure that I'm going to continue in the IDF for some more, years of service. And then, I was pushed very much to establish the organization. I think that we understood very fast that what we see, the problem of agriculture, terrorism, and crime, it's just the cover of something that is a lot more deep than that. This is what we discovered very fast.
Right.
First, we discovered that actually Israel in a real high risk of food security. We live in the Middle East, okay? Look what's happening now with Ukraine and Russia. 30% of the food of the world, the wheat coming from there.
Right.
And more than 50% of the Middle East coming from there. And you tell yourself, if you are not going to be and keep yourself completely independent, this small place, okay, can find himself in disaster. And this is this small community that's actually taking care to the Israeli food security. Beside that, we understood that if you're looking during the years, okay, in the 20s of the 20th century, the love of the land and to get back to the land, was the main story. We was attacked, in pogroms, and we had the Holocaust. And there was the story of Masada to fight until the end. And we have the Holy Mountain that destroyed it, and you will go to the Western world. But this is all stories about, bad things that happen in the end. And here is a story of growing, fruits and vegetables from the desert. Okay, that this is the story, the real story of Israel. This story is actually gone from our own educational system.
But you're talking about this. We are in the year 2023, but what I'm hearing from you are the principles of Zionism that date back a century. It's about fighting for the land, working the land, connecting with the land.
This is why I'm saying that this is just a cover, because you understand that we know that what moves the world, okay, it's it's material and money, but it's actually more than that. It's spirit. It's people's spirit. And to live here on this area, on this region that's called the Middle East, okay, if you don't have spirit, okay, there is no chance you will stay here.
Right.
And you tell yourself, what was strengthening our spirit more than kids that was coming and building and planting, and saw how they made a desert, full with vineyards, that growing, grapes and what more than that? And you tell yourself, actually, we know that the young generation is go and spend 80% of his time in front of screens.
Right.
So you tell yourself, so because of that, how come that we are not spending more time to bring, the young generation to the land, to make something that will connect him back to his roots? And you tell yourself, there was such a simple tool. Every school, in the 11th grade, 12th grade, was going to the Negev, to the Galilee, go and help the farmers, working the land. And in the end of the week, what they felt, I got scratched, I sweat so much, but now it's actually mine. This is my story, this is my land. And you know what's so special about Israel? Every place you put your head, there is some biblical, story. So it's all connected to your history and the stories of the people that was fighting for this land from 1948 and before until right now. And you tell yourself, how come that this was completely disappeared? And you tell yourself, more than that, you ask yourself, you're looking over the 22nd century. It's so close to us, your kids are going to live, hopefully, we say Bezrat Hashem, until the 22nd century. Right. You ask yourself, actually, what will be their Zionist story?
Right.
And where they're going to get it from?
Yoel, we started talking about practicalities, protecting agricultural lands, farmers, crime, governance, law and order. But then I'm hearing from you that it's so much more than just the practicality of it. You're talking about Zionism and the connection and the education. So tell us the state of affairs as of today, January 2023. How many people are affiliated with the New Guardian, Hashomer Hachadash, and what kind of activities do you engage in?
So if you're looking over the past year, this year we had more than 120,000 people that came to volunteer.
120,000
people, yes.
Wow.
Came to hundreds of locations from the Arava Desert to the Eastern Negev, Western Negev, all over the Golan Heights, the upper of the Galilee, the western of the Galilee, the lower Galilee, all over the country of Israel.
And when they volunteer, what do they do?
So most of what we are doing, we're actually getting the calls from the farmers that they having a lack of manpower, or they are afraid that people will come and steal from them. So we give them all the help that we can do, with volunteers. When you talk about
assistance, actually farming?
Yeah, actually farming. Actually coming to the farmer and tell him, for example, we know that you are working the whole day long. We're going to take care to your farm on the night. We will do the night patrol. You will go to sleep with your family. For example, to do some of them, they was not spending time with their families,
really?
During Rosh Hashanah or Passover. Like it would be their first time to spend time with their family.
Wow. So, why? They would be
outside keeping their goats or their fruits, that people will not come and steal it from them. Yeah, wow. This is the situation. So beside that, we opened the whole area to grow the next generation of the farmers. So the idea was to take mostly post-army boys and girls that come in, to do at least 7 months, doing, experience, the work of the land, and then taking that as their life advantage, including investors from Israel and from the States that investing in young farmers to help them to establish their new farm, organic farm or whatever, and it's look amazing. Like it's really, you see, people say it's like, this is the past.
Right.
And it also, if it's bullshit, young people, they see the story of environment and they know that agriculture is actually one of the best answers, and they say here, maybe I won't have billions of shekels in my bank account, but I will live life of meaning, and this is the perfect fit for this young generation.
But you're also taking this industry into the future.
Exactly.
Not just a remnant of the past.
Right. Food tech, ag tech, it's all included. And beside that, and I think this is the most important part, is the educational part.
Okay.
And today we have a youth movement with 24,000 youth from all over Israel, from different sectors. Most of them are Jews, but we have also 3,000 Bedouin that joined us.
Wow.
That they said, we want to be part of this Israeli, Jewish democratic state from where we live. We see ourselves part of this, the Israeli society. We want to be part of it. And they said, we're going to join you. After that, we established 4 boarding schools. Best kids in the desert, in the Golan Heights, like working in the morning, the land, and afternoon they do in the school, learning. It's platform that it's a magic. Like it's literally kids that say, I can't handle 8 hours, 10 hours sitting in the classroom. I want to do something with my hands. And you see kids in the Arava, they're running, with investors that invested in, top high class greenhouses with computers and all of that. They're running the whole company, like they're running the whole work in these greenhouses. And you see someone that ended 12th grade running 250K, project. So you know that in the day after the army, he can do everything he just dream. After that, we have the gap year, where we are just now boys and girls that come in for 13 months. Before college or army, they come in for a year that they saying we are going to commit to a year, helping the farmers as much as we can, but also to learn, about the Israeli history, about Judaism, about the Middle East, like it's all part of it, connect to the land, and make the land as part of our identity, part of our story.
I'm sure a lot of our viewers, and we're sitting here intimately, we have an opportunity by the fire for some honesty. So many youngsters today, both in Israel and across the world, are focused on making money, building themselves, trying to make it out there. You almost arrived at this by happenstance because of your father. What made you stay and build the way you did? Like supposedly you could have told yourself, hey, I helped my dad, everything is fine, I secured the farm, I secured the future, and yet you built all of this.
Yeah. So look, I'll tell you first, I think that my first answer will be that I grew up, as you know, as a rancher and as a shepherd when I was young.
Right.
And I will say that to see my father, it was very moving, but actually to meet so many others like my father, when I met each and every one of them, I felt that I'm speaking with my father or my grandfather, and that passed away. And so this was very strong for me, feeling that we're sharing the same faith in many ways. And from the faith point of view, I felt that I grew up on these stories and on this vision that the land will be actually the place where we will unite ourselves. Right. Not we'll split and fight, but actually the land, we always said for 2,000 years, in the next year, Bashana Haba B'Yerushalayim Habnuya, I'm saying, we had this vision, this beautiful vision, okay? Why should always the land will be the thing that made in the wars? Why not it can make, first of all, for our nation, something that unite and connect us, and to see how many ultra-Orthodox that come to volunteer with us. Secular, modern Orthodox, all these kinds.
The entire texture of Israeli society.
Exactly, the entire, of the Jewish, the world Jewry, actually. We said this is it, like you have the, how you say it, like you have the formula, okay? Right. You literally have the formula how to connect and unite us.
You're talking about, the entire texture of the Jewish society, but listening to you, you have turned 3,000 Bedouins into part of the fabric of the Zionist vision and dream, which is truly exciting. And I want to ask you, especially since I've heard you speaking in Florida and you're coming to the States and elsewhere around the world, are there opportunities for Jewish youngsters, young adults, to come and volunteer with Hashomer Hachadash?
Sure, listen, before COVID, we had more than 10,000 of those that came to volunteer. And because it's so, young people do that anyways. They go to do that in New Zealand, in India, in South, America.
That's exactly it.
You tell yourself, what can be more beautiful than that? So when they come into Israel, first of all, we have an app in Israel that's called Sun Do. Sun and Do. And this is like a marketplace.
Like sun.
Sun and do, like just do it. But the sun rise up, go to work. And we say that it's a kind of marketplace that connect between volunteers and farmers. So you can you can choose the location
and apply.
And the farmer will tell you what he will give you for the volunteerism. And some of them will give you some place to sleep and to eat and things like that. Some of them will ask a help for one day. So some of them it's like extreme hard work, for tough people that want to come, and to sweat. And some of them give you like a nice and easy one that can, help them.
And how long? The period of time?
It's really depends on the farmer. It can be 3 hours, 5 hours minimum, and it can be 2 months. People that came for this kind of, experiences. And beside that, all of our educational programs are actually open first for, organizations, schools, colleges that want to come to do some experience of love of the land, or actually know the story of the agriculture in Israel and the ag tech. We had a visit of the Minister of Food Security and Water that came from the Emirates.
Oh, wow.
And when she came, she told us that I was all over Israel. I saw like 40 different companies' sites. And the most meaningful thing I ever saw, it's your boarding school of these young people that she said how I'm taking this platform and copy that to the UAE. And then we said, listen, you are more than welcome to do this, kind of internships. So to do an internship, we had already actually an internship with youth that came from Australia, that came to one of our schools in the Arava Desert.
And they came for how long?
For 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
They joined for 3 weeks.
And how old were they?
There was 16, 15, 16. Yeah. High school. They came for 3 weeks.
And what did they do in the course of the 3 weeks?
So what they did, like the other, students, they woke up in the morning, worked in agriculture, and afternoon, they study with their teachers.
So if I am a headmaster or principal of a school in New York
you apply
or in LA, what do I do to get in touch?
So you get inside the Hashomer Hachadash site.
So it's a website.
Yes,
what's the website? Can you spell it out?
Yeah, it's called Hashomer, H-A, Shomer.
S-H-O-M-E-R.
.org.il.
Hashomer.org.il.
Hashomer.org.il, exactly. And then you can, you will find the English version, and then you apply
email
to
you and write to you.
Right, like you have like you apply like you have a simple link that you have all of the choices where you can volunteer, and then you sign up.
And maybe even establish programs for schools.
Yeah, for
who
sure.
Want to come for a few
every
weeks.
kind of idea that you have for some partnership, you can send us, and you will get a call back for sure.
I must ask you, for the sake of our viewers, what was the reaction of the Israeli government when you came to them with your endeavors? Because quite honestly, these elements should be part and parcel of the services the government must provide its citizens with.
Right.
And here you are.
So look, with the government, I think that it was there was 2 ways of reaction. First, when they came to the fields and saw what we are doing, they actually felt that they cannot ignore what they see.
Right.
They told themselves, listen, if there is people that take responsibility on their life and the situation here, we must be part of it. And today, more than 30% of our budget coming from the government.
Right.
Partnership with the government with a few different ministers. From the Minister of Agriculture, the Minister of Education, the Minister of Defense, like it was each and every one of them, different kind of activity. And beside that, the other part was, I think from both sides, we actually said that we must push the government to take more responsibility. And what you see today, on the last election that we had, is not enough responsibility that the government took. I think that Israel spoke for many years about the threat from Iran. We spoke about the threat in our borders. And we actually didn't give the real We
ignored the internal
We ignored
threats.
the story and the needs, the real efforts that was needed in the heart of Israel. And beside that, most of where people stay and spend their time, it's between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, uptown Jerusalem, downtown Tel Aviv. And, if you go from Be'er Sheva and south, it's a bigger size of land than all the rest of Israel. And there is less than 2% population in this area. And there is not enough tension. And there is a lot of abandoned land. And beside that, there is more than 3,000 illegal houses in Israel every year. 3,000.
3,000.
And there is so many areas that the government didn't enough to take over, to control, the situation. And we saw that in May 2021, when it all was exploded. Gaza, it was the small story. The real story was inside Israel. How groups, of Arabs, in the Arabic cities and villages, there was many of them that was going outside, blocking the road and hurting Jews. And we was the one, that in January 21, our organization came to the Minister of the Police and told them, listen, you are before Intifada. We see it happening. We see everything, in the fields burning. And if you're not going to do something now and build some kind of a model of, a National Guard, let's say, some kind of a reserve model.
Which they finally took your advice.
They did, but it's still too slow. We are still pushing very strong. And, every week I'm in the media speaking about that in many, many different ways. But now everybody say that it's needed. Like we must have a National Guard. Before that, people thought that we are crazy. Now it's clear it's needed.
You mentioned the Emiratis coming to you and talking about the model that you created. Because at the end of the day, it's not just protecting the soil, it's also protecting the soul of a nation, really making those deep connections.
Right.
Have you received any other appeals or approaches from abroad asking about your model?
So look, we are in contact with many organizations that came from the UK, from the US, from Canada, from Australia, from France, and there is many different connections and groups that actually came to do or volunteerism or to do some partnership together with us. So like I told you, I think that the attitude and the reality is that we actually have the biggest classroom of Israel.
The biggest classroom.
So why I'm saying the attitude, because the attitude is always to say yes to every kind of partnership.
Right.
And the opportunity of what we can do is unlimited. Right. And the need of the help is so high. So the potential is amazing, in so many different levels, to plant a whole forest together somewhere, or to help farmer to rebuild his farm. And we have farmers that, are post-trauma from the army that we help them with volunteers. Like we find so many different kind of ways to help them that it's like, just come and do, it's just
a wealth of opportunities.
Right, exactly.
Yoel, it's incredibly inspirational to sit and talk to you, and especially in this environment. So I just want to say a big thank you for all that you do and your wonderful organization.
Thank you so much.
It's a true inspiration. So again, Hashomer or Gael.
Exactly, yes.
Amazing. And thank you for your time and efforts. I know how busy you are. Yeah. And to all of you, our viewers, here is another great example of not just inspirational Zionism and a great story, but also the understanding of not just complaining, but doing. If you feel the government is not doing enough or the community is not doing enough, roll up your sleeves and get things done and follow in the footsteps of the great Yoel Zilberman and the new Guardian, Hashomer Org IL. I hope you gained as much inspiration as I did and enjoyed the warmth of Israel at the very heart of this incredible country. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you soon as we cast another wonderful eye on Israel.